Hey guys, how is everyone doing? Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. It was not the best weekend because my whole family was sick. We've been sick with the flu, so sleepless nights and stuff like that. Thankfully, we've taken our medications and now we're better. We're better. We're getting there. But yeah, a couple of big news about this month because this is a very special month. You guys remember we had a very fun month last year with the Halloween challenge at the end of the month. So there's a couple of things that I want to mention about like important dates. First of all, we have our portfolio review coming up. Here we go. So if we check the dates right here, we have the portfolio review is going to be on the 15th and 16th of October. For those of you that have been wondering, every single month we do a portfolio review, and you're welcome to submit either new works or old works, works in progress, anything that you would like me to review, and we'll do it during the weekend. Sometimes we've done this in a live stream once. Maybe we'll do that this month. It depends on how the schedule goes. But yeah, we're going to have that one. So down here in the description, you're going to find a Google Drive link. You're going to go there and you're going to create a file or a folder with your name, and in there you can drop either your work or a link to your ArtStation, your Instagram, whatever you want to share your stuff at, and I'll be happy to review it. Okay, so that's going to be again 15 and 16. The submissions are going to be open this next 2 weeks, so you're free to submit at any time. We also have the contest, the weapon contest that we launched last month. This is the last month to work on it. We are not or we haven't yet shown you guys where you're going to be able to submit it, but keep working on it because the submission link is going to be open very, very soon. It's probably going to be on the week of the 17th when we're going to open that submission link, and I'm also going to be announcing the prices really, really soon. We're just trying to find the best logistics to make sure everyone gets their price if you're a winner, no matter where you are in the world. This contest is open to anyone in the world, so feel free to participate. If you want to know a little bit more about it, make sure to go back a couple of weeks ago, and there was a video that we did about the contest. I think that's pretty much it. We still have a lot of topics to cover. Please make sure to leave me comments with more stuff that you might want to learn about, and I'm gonna try and find the best solution or the best information to share with you guys. But for now, we still have the sword that I'm working on for the contest, of course. We have the lighthouse that a lot of people have mentioned. I know that one we might need to restart a couple of things, because I was mentioning in one of the comments that unfortunately with the change to Unreal Engine 5, a lot of the techniques that I would normally use for an environment piece are now changed. They're now like outdated. So I'm trying to think how many pieces or how many things I'm gonna have to redo. But that's about it. We have the face like a demo. We're missing the eyes and the nose, I believe, the female face. We're working on that one. But again, let me know in the comments down here if there's any specific topic you guys would like to know about. Now, before we jump onto onto today's topic, I just want to remind you that we do have this Skillshare promotion where you can watch all of our courses for free for a limited amount of time.
Hey guys, Abraham here. I just want to remind you guys that we upload all of our courses to Skillshare. Skillshare is this amazing site where you can access a ton of different content to learn, improve, and grow as an artist. We have all of our courses available to watch and learn from right now in Skillshare. You can check the description down here, and Skillshare is offering 1 free month trial to their premium membership. With this membership, you're going to be able to access all of our courses and watch and learn all of the amazing things that we cover with all of the softwares. So, what are you waiting for? Check Skillshare down here below.
So there you go. You can find all of the courses that I've done, as well as all of the other courses that the other instructors have done. We have new courses about anatomy, about animal anatomy, and like a little bit of action, like hair for animals, the advanced hair card course. Like there's a lot of cool stuff over there. So if you haven't checked Skillshare yet, make sure to go down there. It really helps us keep the channel going. We're at 29,200 subscribers, so I'm pretty sure we might be able to get to 30K by the end of the month. Let's make sure to share, subscribe, and comment to help us get to that specific goal. So today, guys, we're gonna do an exercise. I was looking through the videos, and I haven't done this exercise. This is one of the exercises that I do in my classes like very frequently, especially for environments. If you wanna get a little bit into environment art. and that is rocks. Rocks are a very fundamental like part of the environment. It doesn't matter if it's like a forest or mountains, snowy mountains, desert. Like, it really doesn't matter where you are in the world. You're gonna find rock formations, and it's important that you know how to create this. Now, I am gonna make a little bit of a segue here. One of the other reasons why I thought about rocks is I've been doing this like model rocks for my D&D games. I'm following this dude in YouTube. Check him out. His name is, or the channel name is Black Magic Craft. Really talented artist. I know he's not a 3D artist, or at least I think he's not a 3D artist, but he's a really good like traditional artist. So he does a lot of very cool stuff, and a lot of the techniques that he shows can be like adapted or used as inspiration for the things that we do. So that's what we're going to be working on today. And first of all, we need to define why are we sculpting rocks? Why not just go out there and do photogrammetry for rocks? Of course, you can do that. And we have Quixel, right? Quixel. For those of you guys that are not aware, Quixel is this company that specializes in photogrammetry, where they go out, take pictures of things, and then they make them into 3D objects that we can use for games and stuff. Unreal Engine bought this company like 2 years ago or something like that, and everything that they have is free to use. If you create your own like Unreal or Epic Games account, you are gonna have access to all of the 3D models, all of the 3D textures. Everything that you see on this site is gonna be available for you to use, as long as you use it for Unreal Engine. Okay, so if you're gonna use it for a game, for a commercial, for a VR experience like we do, you can use all of this stuff. And they do have a lot of really cool rocks. So if you ask me, would you spend the time modeling or sculpting a photorealistic look, I would say no, definitely no. The cheapest and most efficient way to do this is to just do photogrammetry. Grab your camera, go to a mine, a quarry, a mountain, take your own pictures, create your own rocks, and then use them in the project. Because even though I do trust my abilities enough to be able to do something like this, for instance, I know that's going to take me at least like 2 or 3 full days of work. So that's like 20, 30 hours of work to get to this same level. And I could do this with photogrammetry in like 4 hours, right? Like the time it takes you to go, take the pictures, come back and do the processing, you could do this a lot faster. So if you're going to be doing photorealistic rocks, my advice is try to use photogrammetry elements. It's gonna make things a lot easier, and no one's going to notice, okay? Now, when is it that we're going to be using other types of rocks? Well, it could be for a lot of different things, but if we look for stylized rocks, you're going to see that there's a lot of games. I've been playing a little bit of Genshin, well, not a little bit, quite a bit of Genshin Impact in the last couple of weeks, and they have a lot of rocks. Breath of the Wild, Monster Hunter. Like, if you go for a game that's not photorealistic, you're probably going to have this type of rocks in your games or in your environments. And today, we're going to go over what makes this kind of rocks special. So, of course, the easiest way to start with this would be to go into Zbrush, and there's millions of ways to start. I like using the basic, like there's a block or a cube. This like bevel block is really good. There we go. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to dynamesh. So we'll just dynamesh this thing. I'm probably going to increase the resolution a little bit. Let's go to like 500, and we're just going to dynamesh. And there we go. So as you can see, we do have enough resolution. It's not that much, but just good enough for what we're going to be doing. I am going to rotate this, and the first thing we need to do, other than like deciding that we're going to start with a cube, is we need to decide what kind of rock we're going to go for. There are different kinds of rock depending on the environment and on the thing that you're doing. It could be on a mine, it could be like a really sharp rock, like a really jaggedy rock, it could be like a really flat rock. Like, there's a lot of, again, rocks. In this case, I think I want to go for this sort of like Stonehenge, like ancient ruin rock. So I want to keep it simple so that everyone can follow and do your own. So it's going to be like a small little formation that's very, very cool. It should be natural, so we're going to go for something here. Gathering reference, of course, is very important. And the most important thing about rocks is to understand that, like this kind of stuff, we need to understand that rocks don't just like exist as like, they weren't just like created and placed there, right? There was a tremendous amount of time that had to pass for rocks to erode, get damaged, fall down, break, chip away. Like all of the environment conditions that happen in the real world have like pretty much sculpted the rocks into what we see when we explore. This is the kind of stuff that we're going for. Now, once we have a rock and we have an idea of what we want, we need to think about primary shapes, secondary shapes, and tertiary shapes. And primary shapes are probably the most important thing. So if I'm gonna see a boulder on my game, I want to make sure that this boulder, this rock, looks as nice as possible. So for instance, I'm gonna use my move brush here, and I'm gonna actually work with no symmetry. We're not gonna have any symmetry. And I'm just gonna start like moving the shapes of this rock a little bit. I'm taking a look here on this part right here, which is the silhouette inside of Zbrush. And I'm gonna use BTD, which is trim dynamic, to start like blocking in the general shapes that I'm looking for. So I'm gonna start blocking in the top part of the rock, for instance, right there. And I really like using trim dynamic because, as you can see right there, it gives us a really aggressive effect on the rock. Now I do think I want this to be taller, so I'm just going to scale this with R. And now that we have this, I want to think about the primary forms, or the primary shapes that I want to share, that I want to see when I'm using these rocks. And one of the very common mistakes I see people make when they make rocks, especially students that are learning, of course, is that they will create a single blob and they will try to add all of the complexity of the rock formation in that single blob. And even though you can really go there and increase the Dynamesh resolution and use your Damien standard, it's never going to be the same as if you have different elements. But for some reason, I still haven't figured this one out. If you guys have the answer, let me know in the comments. There's a fear that students have when starting 3D about having a lot of objects. I don't know why this happens. It happens in Zbrush, and it happens in Maya, it happens in Blender. Every single time I've taught a class, students are scared of having like 20 objects, 30 objects, 50 objects. I think my idea is that they think that the program or the software is going to crash, but it's not going to crash as long as you're doing things properly, right? So I'm going to press W, and I'm going to press Control Alt, and I'm going to drag this out to create another rock. I'm going to make this a small rock. I'm going to rotate it a little bit, and I'm going to move it so that the rest is right about here. And again, I'm taking a look at this thing over here, which is going to be the thing that's going to tell me how the general like shape language is looking for my rock. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to duplicate this again. I think I'm going to make this a flat one, like a longer one. I'm going to rotate it like this. Usually these big rocks, they will like kind of like align, kind of like Tetris blocks. They will align like pretty nicely between each other. They're going to have this sort of like interaction where they kind of like fit together. So I like that. Let's do one more. This is going to be a short, like stubby one on this side, kind of like falling down right there. Okay, so as you can see, what I'm creating here is I'm creating this interesting silhouette where I have a main shape, which is my main like pillar, and then I have secondary shapes and tertiary shapes that are helping the overall feel. And if I move this around, you should have something similar everywhere. Like this view right here, this is fine. Like the front, let's say this is the front technically. So this view and this view are fine, but these ones are very, very bad, right? So for instance, on this view right here, let's play around with this little block that we have right here and make it a little bit of like an again, I'm trying to create an interesting effect right there. This doesn't mean that we're not going to sculpt these things. We're still going to sculpt them and create like more interesting shapes. But we just want to get a general like blocking of what we're going for. So now this looks cool. This looks cool. This looks cool. This doesn't look as cool because we're missing something here. So let's duplicate this guy again. I'm going to move it like this. And just adding this sort of stuff, this sort of variation, that's all we need to create something a little bit more interesting for our rock formation. There we go. I have a really weird material. I'm gonna go back to, there we go, to the starter material. Now, do not make the mistake of just like dynameshing, because this is gonna happen. This is a very common thing. Whenever you duplicate an object, it doesn't get a polygroup. It's actually being duplicated as a shape that's gonna remove itself from the main shape. So it's kind of like a Boolean operation. So if we were to dynamesh, you can see that we're removing that thing from the element, which could be handy for other processes, but for this one, it's not what we want. So we're going to go to polygroups, and I'm going to say auto groups. What this will do, as you can see, is it's going to give it one single polygroup, which is an organization of the faces to each section of the rocks. And now that we have this, if you go to Geometry and Dynamesh, there's an option here called Groups. I also have it up here on my custom interface. And here on the Groups option, what's gonna happen now is if I Dynamesh, it's gonna Dynamesh each individual polygroup as its own mesh. So it's not gonna stick them together, which is super important because we wanna keep them separate. Now we definitely need to increase the resolution here a little bit because these guys are becoming a little bit too like we just need a little bit more resolution. And now we can start thinking about the secondary shapes. So for the secondary shapes, there's a very cool brush that I like to use for this sort of things, which is gonna be here in brushes. It's on the default, it's just hidden, and you're gonna go to where is it? Polish, and it's called it's not polish, it's planar. Sorry. So planar, there we go. No, my bad. Mallet, it's the mallet fast. So we go here to the options and we got more smooth mallet. There we go. So the mallet fast is a really interesting brush because it's really aggressive. We definitely need more resolution. And as you can see, every time, like when I start drawing, it just does a hole, right? But when I remove the pen and go back again, it does a different level on the element. So it's a really fast and cool way to create this sort of like erosion looking effect. And it keeps things very, very like planar. Now, another thing we can do is we can actually turn on the polish feature on the Dynamesh. And as you can see right there, the hard edges are gonna be a little bit more like intense using this technique. Now, one of the reasons why we're needing more Dynamesh is because the object is really small. We've mentioned this, or I've mentioned this, I think, on the last video when we were doing the face. The Dynamesh thing is, it uses like screen size or pixel size or something like that. So this object is actually a really small object, and that's why we need such a big resolution. If I just scale this up a little bit, like you can see right now, we have 113,000 points, and I just scaled the thing, and I'm gonna Dynamesh again. And you're gonna see we are all the way up to almost 1 million polys, right? Even though it's the same object, it's just because of the size, okay? So now that we have this, we should be able to use the mallet fast. Hey, what's happening? Do I have a mask? That's really weird. Getting like a really slow response on my tablet, and I'm not sure why. That's not a lot of polys. Is the brush? It's the tablet. It's really weird. Okay. It's working fine here. Oh, you know what? I know what it is. Yeah. I accidentally turned on dynamic subdivision, and with dynamic subdivision turned on, it was doing it's like using the subdivision modifier in Blender. So it was adding this sort of stuff, and it was making it really difficult to work with. So let's turn this off. You turn that on by using the letter D. So sometimes you can get that mistake. There we go. So I'm gonna grab again my mallet fast. And again, as you can see here, I can create this very cool looking like eroded effects. But not only that, I can also create these sort of like planes. Rocks and stones have a lot of like planes to them. So you're gonna see certain areas that are a little bit like closer to the surface than others, and that's where you get the sort of like chip effect and stuff that we're going for. So see how I'm changing like the level there. Now you can also use this with Alt, and it's gonna add a new like layer, as you can see right there. And you can change to Trim Dynamic. Trim Dynamic is really good to kind of clean up a little bit of those areas, because the mallet tends to be really aggressive when working. Now another very cool thing about working with the with polygroups is, as I just did right here, you can press Control Shift and click on an object, and it's gonna isolate that specific polygroup. And that way you're going to be able to jump into this area and only focus on this thing right here. So for instance, here's where the mallet brush is going to be amazing. Look at this. I'm going to create a cut going all the way over here, kind of like a crack. See? So I start with a really high intensity. I was pressing my brush quite heavily over there. And then as I kept going lower and lower, I reduced the amount of pressure. And I can go again. And remember, every time you lift, you don't have to lift the brush all the way over here, right? Or your pen. You can just do small little taps. And every time you do that, it's kind of like carving in a little bit more on the rock, as you can see right there. So let's separate this. I kind of want to like make it seem like there was a big crack on this boulder at one point. We go all the way down here. Then we can use trim dynamic to clean some of the surface up a little bit. And that looks very nice, doesn't it? And then we can again go with mallet fast, and we can use inverse mallet to add volume or change certain areas. What you mainly want here is we want to make the cube disappear, right? Like we don't want people to see this and be like, oh yeah, that was originally a cube. We want them to see the rock for what it is. So by again polishing and doing all of this changes here and there, we're gonna be able to just that. Now we can dynamesh again. We're gonna lose a little bit of detail, but don't worry. As long as we keep the main shapes, we're gonna be fine. Now, another thing that's very important, and again, I'm looking at the silhouette over here. We already have the primary shapes, which are like the main like blocking elements that we have on the stone. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to do a little bit of secondary shapes, and that's when this silhouette right here, this line, gets cut a little bit. So again, I can go with the mallet brush, the mallet fast, and I'm gonna change the stroke to a spray. This is gonna be a little bit more aggressive, but as you can see, I'm eroding all of this section right here. I'm trying to pay attention to the silhouette again to make sure that we are like really pushing the silhouette on that point. See that little like nick that we're getting there? That's the kind of stuff that we want to do. And then again, we can use trim dynamic, for instance. Just do a little bit of cleanup there. One of the cool things about rocks is that I find them very cathartic. I think that's the word. Because it's kind of like retopology where you can just go full on auto mode and just turn off your brain for a little bit and just relax and have fun, because it's just stones, right? Like they're just stones, literally. So no one's gonna be like, oh no, that's not a realistic looking stone, unless you do something that's really atrocious or really weird. Any rock could get this sort of damage given the specific circumstances, right? So just go over there. I really like this line that we had, so I'm gonna go back with it or go over it again and just do this sort of thing, just smooth it out. Even that texture right there looks quite nice. It also depends on how like stylized or realistic you want to go. In this case, I think we're like on a like 50-50 sort of effect. If you want to go super stylized, you're gonna keep the shapes really clean. And if you want to go super realistic, you're going to go way more heavy on the details. I'm going to show you another technique that I really like. I don't remember where I saw this. It was one tutorial several years ago. But you can use your lasso brush and do this. Okay, so just create like random things right here. And then with like the W, just move a couple of things up. Or you like scale them in. And that's going to give you some cuts on the rock that are also going to make it look quite interesting, as you can see right there. And then you can go back with your mallet brush and just start fixing some of this stuff, which is very common. Rocks get a lot of this sort of like sediment layer effect. I'm not a geologist, so maybe the terminology that I'm using is wrong. But as far as I understand, sometimes they do get this sort of like layer effect. And again, you can get a really nice like something when doing it this way. Just be careful with like super thin effects. We've talked about this before when doing bakes and stuff. Super thin elements can create quite some messy problems when doing bakes later on. So if we were to transform this into a low poly and we're going to be baking down the information, that sort of thing could potentially cause some issues. So I always, when I see things are a little bit too thin, I use my my inflate brush to bring it back. For instance, here I'm gonna add again using my mallet brush with Alt, so I'm positive, to add this like pancake layer thingies. And then we can go with Train Dynamic. Train Dynamics is great because it will flatten out some of the elements. It will remove some of the weird textures that you might have gotten. And just create like an interesting looking thing. So that's one way to do it. And I know we're already at like the 25-minute mark. I try to keep the video short so that you guys can get up with your day and practice. This is a great exercise, by the way. This is like a 1 hour like quick sculpt thing that you could do and have it ready. And one of the reasons why I strongly recommend doing this is every now and then you're gonna be doing projects like, I don't know, like a sword or like a piece of armor or something, and you just don't want to do a clay render. You would like to have it somewhere. So this is a perfect place to have it, right? It's just like imagine a render where you have the main thing of your render right here in the center, like just laying against a very nice sculpted piece of rock, and it's gonna look a little bit more in line with the rest of the world. Now, this is a trick that I've shown several times, a little like trade secret. It's not really a secret, a lot of people know about this, but every now and then I find a new student is like, oh, I didn't know about that one. That looks very cool, or that's very cool. There was a guy who several years ago, this was like 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, who created something called the ore brushes. His name is Michael Vicente. He used to work at Blizzard, and Blizzard, of course, is one of the pioneers in this sort of like stylized, cartoony, but at the same time like semi-realistic looking thing. And Michael Vicente created this orb brush pack, it's called, and it's free, completely free. You just need to go into Google, just look for orb brush pack. You're gonna find this Gumroad site. If you want to tip him, make sure to leave a tip right here. You can, of course, do however much you want. And once you download it, you're gonna get a little folder. In my particular case, I like to install my stuff directly on Zbrush. So you're gonna go to where you have your software like set up. In this case, I have a different hard drive for that. So here in Pixologic, we have this called the Zbrushes folder. And as you can see, I have this orb folder that I created. And this is where I have placed all of the orb brushes right here. I have another brushes right here that I got from a guy named, or who goes by the name J. Ron in the online. These are also for rocks, but they're a little bit more realistic. And once you have them there, if you go to the lightbox and you go to brush, you're gonna find the folder right here. So where is mine? There we go. As you can see, these are the J-ROM, which again, as I mentioned, they're a little bit more realistic. And then all of these are the ones from Michael. Yeah, Michael Vicente. There we go. So the ones that I recommend from this ones are the following. The Orb Rock Details is really good. It's an alpha that, as you can see, gives a lot of texture to the rock so that it's not like completely flat. It's really, really good. I love using this one. You can use it as many times as you want, and as you can see, it immediately makes like stones look a little bit better. You can of course increase the intensity, and the alpha is going to be like more intense. This is really good again for like big flat areas that you have and you don't want to read as just like flat areas. You can of course use this in negative. So if you do a negative, you can do this. My advice when using this one is rotate it around and change the scale so that it doesn't look like it's the same alpha. Because if I do this, for instance, like let's say I do 1, 2, 3, 4, you can kind of see the same repeating pattern everywhere. So you need to play around a little bit with it so that people don't notice. These sharp lines that we have right here, those are perfect for again from Train Dynamic to just like flatten them up a little bit and give them this sort of like beveled edge. The bevel edge is like a key signature from Blizzard. Like they bevel everything, so it's very important that we keep that one if we want to go for that sort of like style. We don't want to have any sort of like sharp edges anywhere. And then in the brushes, there's another one. This one's right here, the Orb Slash. This is one of those things that you can add to the corners, especially. I definitely recommend increasing the intensity here a little bit more. And as you can see, it's those sort of like damages, or like when you hit a stone with this sort of stuff, with like a hammer or like an axe or something, and you get this sort of detail. So really good. I recommend having this ones on the borders, okay, because it just makes it just looks a little bit better on the corners like this. And then he has another one that I really like, which is this like Orb Slash and Orb Slash 2. These are just like some nice lines that you can add as well. But as you can see, these lines work and they look cool because we spent the time and we did all of the work to create amazing looking rocks from the very first section, from the very basic, what's the name? Like the primary forms that we've talked so much about. It's thanks to that all of these details can work really well. We also have this orb rubble. That one's fun. It's just like little stones and stuff. So if you want, again, like this a little bit, or this is definitely more like cartoonish that you might want. Again, depending on the project that you're, or the work, the project, the thing that you're doing, this might or might not work. And there's one more that's really good. I think it's this. Where is it? Because there's one brush that he uses to create lines. Is this one? No, these are just lines. Which one is it? Okay, the clay tubes is also a very important one. This one it works very similar to the mallet brush, so it's really good, as you can see, to either add volume or remove volume from the stones. And if you change this to like a spray, this one works really nice. We definitely need to decrease the intensity, but you can again create like a little bit of texture there on the rocks. Gonna go back to freehand. Let's go, for instance, on this one. And again, it's the clay tubes. It's like a modified version of clay tubes. I don't use clay tubes as much, but for this particular thing, it actually works really well. As you can see right here, we get this very nice organic looking effect throughout our stones. We can create the same sort of like planes and randomness that we were talking about with the rest of the elements, like right here. But there's another one. I can't seem to find it. There's one that he uses kind of like a Damien standard. Is this one? I think it's one of this, but he changes this one to freehand, I think. Yeah. So by changing this to freehand, as you can see, it's kind of like a Damien standard. It's like a sharp knife. It's really, really, really sharp. So if you want to create like a crack on the stone, and you really want to sell the fact that that's a deep crack, this is a really nice way to do it as well. As we can see, we can go for some more intense cracks right there. I would definitely like soften them up a little bit, because otherwise they look like a little bit too much. But they're a really, really nice tool that we can use to create this sort of stuff. And that's pretty much it, guys. The more time you spend on anything, as you guys know, the more interesting and the cooler things can look. But this is a really, really fast workflow to creating stylized rocks. Again, for 30 minutes, I think this is a really nice one. We're still missing a couple of this ones right here, but it doesn't look half bad. Finally, what you can do is, again, here in the brushes, there's one called Orb Rock Noise. And this is good to just like add a little bit of texture to the rocks. Don't overdo it. Keep certain areas clean. That would be my advice. You don't want to have detail everywhere, because it might look a little bit weird. And then if you feel like adventurous, you could of course like carve your own kind of like a runes over here, right? Like imagine we carve in like a rune over there or something. I don't know. I remember there's like a Nordic rune that's like an F, kind of like that. So you can imagine we can grab alphas, or we can do just like a small little rune thingy over here. And this is the sort of stuff that you would then paint on top on your what's the word? On the texturing part of things. Also, let me know if you would like me to show you the rest of the process. This will be like this is the high poly concept or part of this process, which is just the creation of this like thing, this monolith right here. We would then need to bake this thing down into a low poly. Or actually, I think I'm going to show you guys, because as I mentioned earlier with the lighthouse technique, nowadays, thanks to nanite inside of Unreal, we can actually take this piece right here and just like have the high poly be the normal polygon that you would use, and it's going to have all of the detail, all of the polygons. So I'm going to show you one of of the workflows that you can use to bring this into Unreal. So yeah, that's it, guys. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, the portfolio review is going to be open for the next 2 weeks, so you can submit your stuff for the next portfolio review. Please leave a like, share, comment. All of that helps us grow as a channel. We've been doing great this past months, and hopefully we can keep this up. So thank you very much for your continued support. Have a great beginning of the week, and I'll see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.